Good evening and welcome to the Westminster City Council meeting for May 18th, 2026. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for joining us this evening. Please remember that our meetings are governed by the rules of decorum posted inside the chamber doors. We ask all attendees to maintain a respectful environment. No disruptions, threats, or audible expressions of support or opposition are permitted. Signs and placards are prohibited, and all attendees must remain seated in designated areas. If you wish to speak during public comment, please sign up in the lobby. Sign up closes at 6:45. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councillor Barajas.
Present.
Mayor Carmelia. Councillor Izzati.
Here.
Councillor Hott.
Present.
Councillor Ireland.
Here.
Councillor Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Normella.
Here. Is there a motion to excuse Mayor Carmelia from tonight's meetings due to a family matter requiring her to be out of town? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. I move to excuse Mayor Carmelia from tonight's meeting due to a family matter.
Councillor Barajas?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Councillor Barajas?
I move to approve the minutes of the May 11th, 2026 City Council meeting as presented.
Councillor Johnson?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll go on to presentations. We have two presentations this evening. First, Councillor Izzati will present the proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Good evening. Can the folks from Moms Demand Action come up, please? Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I am Kathy Kelly. I'm a Westminster resident over 30 years. I am also the state co-chair for Moms Demand Action here in Colorado.
Hi, I am Stacy Gregory, and I am a mother of 3 kids in Jeffco schools. I'm a Westminster resident who moved here 2 years ago now, and I am the North Metro local group lead for Moms Demand Action.
So this is a really important topic for the city. A few years ago, we banned guns from City Hall and all public buildings. A year before that, we had our first ever proclamation addressing this serious issue of gun violence. And tonight, I'm just really proud to be able to present to Moms Demand Action a stronger proclamation that really exemplifies our beliefs and in proactive, preventative public safety and the need to actually make sure that our kids and our families are safe. A community cannot seriously address things like childcare or affordability without seriously looking at the impact that guns have on kids and our families. And if you didn't know, gun violence is the #1 killer of kids between 10 and 24. So I'm proud to present this, and I will read this proclamation now. Whereas every day, nearly 130 people in the United States are killed by gun violence, and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 19,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas people in the United States are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries, and whereas Colorado has the 23rd highest rate of gun-related deaths in the United States, at approximately 1,000 deaths every year and a rate of 16.6 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $11.4 billion each year. And whereas since 2020, firearms have been the leading cause of death for young people ages 1 to 17, surpassing car crashes, overdoses, and cancers. And whereas cities across the nation, including Westminster, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and whereas the City of Westminster recognizes the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution while affirming that keeping guns away from those who are a danger of themselves or others and safe firearm storage are essential to protecting public safety, and whereas mayors, council members, and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best, are the most familiar with addressing criminal activity, and are best positioned to keep their community safe. And whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and June 25th, 2026, which would have marked her 29th birthday, is recognized nationwide as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and people across the United States will wear orange to honor her life and remember all victims of gun violence and their loved ones. And whereas Westminster commits to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them, and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now, therefore, I, Claire Camellia, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim June 5th, 2026 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and encourage all residents to wear orange on June 5th and to support their local community efforts to prevent the tragic impacts of gun violence and to save lives. Thank you. Deputy, anything else to say?
Picture.
Oh, picture.
All right, thank you, Councilor Zadi. All right, our next proclamation is for cerebrospinal fluid leak awareness week. Councilor Johnson will present the proclamation.
My name is Autumn Francis. I am a Westminster resident and a patient with a CSF leak. Thankfully on the mend after receiving a long, arduous battle with some medical care. So,
Thank you for being here.
yeah.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to read the proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council. Whereas spinal cerebral fluid leak, CSF, known as intracranial hypotension, is an incapacitating and underdiagnosed but treatable cause of new onset headache, and whereas, while the most common symptom is disabling positional head pain that is worse when upright and improved when laying down, and whereas spinal CSF leak can also cause a wide range of symptoms and serious complications, including hearing loss, vision disturbances, dizziness, tinnitus, stroke, dementia, Parkinsonism-type symptoms, and coma, and whereas spinal CSF leak occurs when there is a hole, tear, or other defect in the dura mater, the protective sheath that surrounds the brain and spinal cord, allowing CSF to seep out of the dura mater and cause a loss of CSF volume around the brain and spine, and whereas spinal CSF leak can be caused accidentally through medical procedures such as lumbar punctures, epidurals, surgeries, spontaneously, as in the case of CSF venous fistulas, bone spurs, and other spontaneous causes, and or via accidental or other traumatic injury to the spine, and whereas diagnosis is often missed or delayed due to low awareness among healthcare providers, and diagnostic imaging is often insufficiently sensitive to confirm the diagnosis, and whereas whereas patients report significant delays in access to treatment options due to low awareness, and whereas each of these limitations negatively impacts the outcomes and contributes to additional patient suffering, and whereas the incidence and prevalence of this disorder has been challenging to study due to underdiagnosis and a lack of research funding, and whereas greater awareness to the understanding is vital to ensuring a timely diagnosis and treatment and best outcomes for patients suffering from spinal CSF leak. Now, therefore, I, Jack Johnson, on behalf of the mayor and the rest of City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim June 1st through June 7th as Spinal CSF Leak Awareness and recognize the importance of understanding and impact of this disorder. Signed this 18th day of May 2026, Mayor Claire Carmelia. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address City Council on any issues or items pertaining to city business. During public comment, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes for their comments. Staff will follow up with questions and outstanding issues. City Clerk, would you please report the number of email, or Deputy City Clerk, will you please report the number of email and voicemail comments received, the number of individuals signed up to speak this evening, and then call the first speaker to the podium.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There were no voicemails received. There was one email received that's been attached to packet, and we currently have 7 speakers signed up. And the first is Esmeralda Vargas, please.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Esmeralda Vargas. I was born in Colorado. I'm raised in Thornton, and I have been active in the Denver metro area my entire upbringing. I'm here tonight to introduce myself as one of the co-owners of the Rodeo Convention Center. I have over 15 years of experience in this industry. I am here tonight to let the council know more about our convention center. This project was started 3 years ago. We are family-owned, operated, and small business owners. During the past 3 years, we had been under construction. This project was very time-consuming and more costly effective than we had expected. About $1.8 million was invested in the completion of our convention center. Since opening, we have held baby showers, gender reveals, cake pop shows, music events. We also had a Easter basket giveaway where we are happy to say over 385 baskets were given to the community as a charity event. We work with very many nonprofit organizations and are happy to let you know we will be holding more events like this, including a back to school giveaway, where our goal is to donate over 500 backpacks to the community. We are opening up this summer with a farmers market that will be held weekly with local vendors. We also have some weddings, quinceañeras, food expos, and card shows we have ready to go for the next few months. I'm here to address any concerns that may have arisen since we opened. In regards to parking, we addressed the parking situation with our property management. They came up with a parking solution. I have a copy here that I will provide the layout with. This was making sure everyone had adequate parking during their business hours. We also use sometimes the city parking lot across the street. Our customers pay to park there. It is important for us to be good neighbors and maintain cleanliness, so we pay 3 staff members extra for them to stay clean all the shopping center's parking lot across the street. Our parking lot, again, sorry, across the street, the street's parking lot, and we also make sure the street is clean. I supervise this every time we are open. We also monitor the noise level when we are open, and we make sure we are under the noise level ordinance because, again, it is important for us to be good neighbors. Regarding food, we sell pizzas, nachos, dorinachos, elotes, churros, pretzels, chips and salsa, and we have recently started offering prepackaged burritos with hot green chili from one of our local restaurants. With that being said, I would like to invite you guys to come visit our location. Our doors are always open to the community and to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Gary Bland.
I want to thank you for your service. Good job. I want to thank you for your service.
Welcome, and just a quick reminder for folks to remember to use the microphone.
Yeah, I was wondering, I couldn't hear anybody in the first place. Anyways, good evening, council. It's Gary Bland. I just wanted to show how simple it is in life to respect our police officers. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Kathy Kelly.
Welcome.
Thank you for having public comment and giving me this opportunity. I am reaching out just to say thank you for recognizing National Gun Violence Awareness Day and understanding the importance of gun violence here in Colorado, and in particular in Westminster. I also, as a Westminster resident, want to thank you for your advocacy for the LGBTQ community. LGBTQ community, along with people of color, are specifically targeted by gun violence more so than any other minorities. And the bravery that this council has shown to stand up and represent the importance of open-mindedness and the acceptance of the LGBTQ community is really important to me personally and as a resident and to our family. And so on behalf of everyone at Moms Demand Action and those of us who represent Wear Orange, I want to say thank you for your advocacy against gun violence, in support of the police and all those who face gun violence in this society, and then also for your advocacy of the LGBTQ community. On behalf of myself as a Christian, I am grateful.
The next speaker is Stavros Roditos.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for your time. My name is Stavros. I've been a resident for 4 years. I'm here to comment in support of Front Range Pasture Rail, not because I like trains, but because I hate sitting in traffic. I understand this is an early first step and there's only going to be like 3 trains, but we've got to start somewhere, and I think doing anything is something. The next comment I want to have is I urge the city to retract from the lawsuit against the state challenging House Bills 241313 and 241304. While I recognize that home rule is important, we live in a region. I can't really tell where Westminster starts and the next city ends because we are in a region. One of my neighbors, for example, was just like, he's been looking for a home. He just found a home in Reunion. Now he lives in Reunion. He travels 30 miles one way just to get to work. That's a lot of traffic. That's another person on I-25 creating more traffic. And that is a direct outcome of the land use and zoning policies that the state has, not allowing for more homes to be built within our existing boundaries. Thank you.
The next speaker is Stacy Gregory.
Welcome.
Hot mic. Hi, I'm Stacy Gregory, and I am a mother of 3. And I wanted to thank you once again for recognizing that we are going to wear orange and for end gun violence. And I really appreciate everyone's effort to do that and to work within our community to always prevent and then also to end gun violence. 1,000 people in Colorado die a year, and I think that that's staggering, but what I find even more staggering is that 70% of those deaths are suicide-related gun deaths. As a mother, that's terrifying to me, and I always want to make sure that everyone is aware of their surroundings, and I really appreciate, we left South Carolina 2 years ago, and we moved here to Westminster, and we actually were able to choose where we were going to live in the area, and we chose Westminster because you have wonderful allyship within the LGBTQ community, which really means a lot, especially to young developing kids. They want to feel welcome to be who they are within their community, within their school. We were no longer welcome within our church community. And so that's one of the reasons that we felt like we needed to leave and come here. So I really do appreciate that you all have done that, and I appreciate that you do fly the pride flag, because there are other flags sometimes that are flown to intimidate people, to make them feel less than, and that's just sad. So I really appreciate your allyship for all your citizens, especially your young citizens, because we want them to be here with us for the long term, and to be able to become who they are and not have their life ended early due to gun violence by suicide. So thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Captain Anakin Elsa Lindsay Skywalker Kendrick.
Welcome.
So I attended this last, Wednesday? I'm from Nevada, by the way. And I wanted to see if there was any progress at the new downtown Westminster station just up the block by US 36 and Sheridan ITD bus station, to see if there was an update on that one. And that was the question.
We don't answer questions to public comment, but we can have staff follow up with you.
I have a photo of it too, of the Cornwall Connector Service. Permission to show the council.
How would you want to do that?
If you have documents to provide to the clerk can make copies.
I'm so sorry.
The clerk can make copies for city council of any materials that you want to offer.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker is Antonio Vargas.
Welcome.
Good evening. How are you guys doing today? Antonio Vargas, just wanted to come and introduce myself. I'm one of the co-owners at the Rodeo Convention Center. I've lived in Colorado basically my entire life. We grew up here in Westminster and in Thornton. We have 15 years of experience in industry management. I wanted to let you know a little bit about the convention center. We're a small family-owned business. We basically poured our entire life savings to open this place. And after 3 years, we were finally able to open. Just kind of want to give you a heads up on what's coming up at the convention center. We have sporting events, trade shows, card shows, food expos, vendor markets. We have some comedian shows. We have concerts, as well as private events like weddings and quinceañeras. We've also partnered with the Doubletree here in Westminster to hold some of their trade shows that are too big for their spot that we can hold in ours. We've also worked very closely with the property management on the parking situation. And we've worked out a plan to make sure that everything's done correctly and trying to be a good neighbor to everybody and have space for everybody. We'd like to invite you guys to come out, take a look at our place, and get to know us and get to know the place, because I know you probably haven't been by, but thank you.
And that was our final speaker.
All right. Thank you to all the speakers tonight. City Manager Andrews, sorry, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I do have a report this evening. If I could have the next slide, please, Catherine. All right, this is a big announcement. I'm happy to report that the city's first repaving using our new paramedics and pavement funding that our community supported at the last election has now been completed. The Apple Blossom neighborhood in historic Westminster is the first recipient of our paramedics and pavement initiatives under our new funding stream that's supported by our community. The city will be repaving one neighborhood every year in addition to our citywide paving program. So Apple Blossom was the first neighborhood of our new additional paving efforts under paramedics and pavement. I want to also announce that future neighborhoods to be repaved under the paramedics and pavement funding stream will include next year the Amherst neighborhood in northern part of Westminster and Countryside in the western part of Westminster in the following year in 2028. And I do want to highlight that those are in addition to our annual paving programs throughout the city. So if you are interested, you can find our full paving schedule at westminsterco.gov, and you can go to the Westminster in the Works section of the website and find out. There's an interactive map. You can click on that and find out when your street will get paved. Next slide, please. All right, this is another big announcement. We closed last week on the purchase of the land for our north side fire station, which is station number 8. So that is land you see in the map of the city there. The star, the light turquoise star to the upper right is the location for our newest fire station, number 8. And that's going to be designed and constructed beginning now, and that will be completed and open in 2029. This project is central to our commitment to strengthen emergency service response in the northern part of Westminster, as well as in the central part. There is another station we will be advising on shortly, which is Station 7, coming to the central part of Westminster. We've already ordered the 2 new fire engines for both of those stations, and we will be hiring this year an additional 12 fire and emergency service personnel. This is also under our paramedics and pavement funding stream for the new personnel and fire engines. So again, thank you to our community for supporting that. We're getting tangible, real benefits immediately from that new funding source. Next slide, please. I do want to highlight in that regard, this is pretty cool. Paramedics and Pavement Engagement Campaign, launched by the city, has won several national communications awards. In total, actually, we've won 7 national awards from the National Association for Government Communicators, and that includes 3 awards for our Paramedics and Pavement Engagement Campaign. We also earned Best in Show for our Beneath the Surface film that features the fire department and our ice rescue operations. Best in Show is NAGC's top prize and awarded above all other submissions from not just local cities, but state and federal agencies as well. So kudos to our communications team. And if members of our community have not seen that film, it's a great piece of work. So please check out on our website and watch Beneath the Surface. Next slide, please. All right, we do have our monthly community update meeting, and that's tomorrow night at Irving Street Library. So that is a new location for those folks who come to our monthly community updates. That's Mayor and City Council and City Manager. Tomorrow will be an update on food insecurity, and we have a special guest, Growing Home. So Growing Home will be present and provide an overview of its food assistance programs, supports, and services. So I do want to highlight that that is tomorrow, Tuesday, Tuesday, May 19th. That will start at 5:30 sharp and run right through till 6:30 p.m. at Irving Street Library, 7392 Irving Street, and we'll have snacks and refreshments for anybody participating. And I understand that because Mayor Carmelia is out of town on a family matter, I'm going to be joined by Councillor Barajas, and we're very excited about this one tomorrow night. This is a really topical area for us, and we're looking forward and want to encourage any members of our community to join us tomorrow night. Next slide, please. All right, we also have another great offering for our community. That's Colorado Legal Services Tenants' Rights Workshop, and that will be happening. That's a free workshop provided by Colorado Legal Services Tenant Rights and Consumer Law. That's Wednesday, May 20th, and that will run from 5 to 7 p.m. and that's at the MAC. That's 3295 West 72nd Avenue, and that workshop will focus on renters' rights and include a comprehensive overview of consumer law, including protection against fraud, debt collection rights, credit report issues, and more. And I can tell you this is a fantastic resource for community members. We're providing that free of charge. We will also be offering free childcare. There will be free translation services and also snacks and refreshments. So please do, if you are interested in that, it's a great opportunity to learn a lot about what your rights are as renters and consumers. Next slide, please. We also have an important public hearing this week. It's actually next week, Tuesday, June 3rd. That's on our Community Development Block Grant program. So a public hearing's been scheduled for the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Annual Action Plan. That's at the MAC again, Tuesday, June 3rd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Draft plan is already available for review at our website. You can find that at westminsterco.gov and look up Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. Feedback on this plan can be provided through the time period from June 4th through July 6th. You can do that by email at cdbg@westminsterco.gov, or you can phone us at 303-658-2191 and give us your feedback over the phone. We also, at that session, will be providing free childcare and Spanish translation services as well. Next slide, please. I have two slides on tonight's agenda, Mayor Pro Tem. We've had our two proclamations, one on National Gun Violence Awareness, one on cerebrospinal fluid leak awareness. We have 3 items on consent agenda this evening, and we have 1 appointment, and that's to our Metro Water Recovery Board of Directors. Next slide, please. Thank you. In post-meeting tonight, we'll move over to the room beside us. We have 2 presentations. We have outside guests on both of these. The first one is Westminster Public Schools Forward Together Facilities Initiative, and next up will be our Front Range Passenger Rail, including station location and connections to regional transit. So the speaker who spoke on this, if you have time tonight, please stick around. We may be able to answer some of your questions right here tonight. We also have 3 executive sessions this evening, the first of which is consultation with special legal counsel regarding an Adams County District Court case. Second is a proposed development assistance agreement for an income-aligned development located at 3300 West 72nd Avenue. That's the former Vectra Bank site. And then finally, conference with the city attorney regarding special permit and license board procedures, investigations, and enforcement mechanisms. Next slide, please. I have 2 slides on this week. We have another busy week with our community. Tomorrow night, as I mentioned, is our community update. Councillor Barajas and I welcoming Growing Home at Irving Street Library, and that will run from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. I should mention, if you haven't been at a community update session with us before, about the first half of that, we'll be sharing information with you, and the second half is a question and discussion period with participants. And so they're really popular sessions, and if you're interested in the topic of community food security or insecurity, please join us tomorrow night. Wednesday is a busy day here at the City of Westminster. You can join our police officer for Coffee with the Cop. That's at our Target at 14451 Orchard Parkway from 9 to 11 a.m. So if you have any questions at all or would just like to meet one of our fine police professionals, please drop by for Coffee with the Cop. We also have that Colorado Legal Services Tenant Rights Workshop. That's again again at the MAC on Wednesday, 5 to 7 p.m. In addition, there's an Uplands A8 Village Center Recreation Center project meeting. So this is by the developer at Uplands, and welcoming anybody interested in that development. That will be happening at the Crown Point Academy, 2900 West 86th, and that starts at 5:30 and runs through 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Also exciting on Wednesday night, I hope the weather cooperates, Downtown Westminster live music session featuring Lauren Joy at downtown's Central Plaza Park. And that's located on 89th Avenue, right in the heart of our downtown, and that will run from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Also that evening is a special permit and license board meeting right here at City Hall, running from 6 to 8 p.m. Next slide, please. This week on Friday, this is exciting. Also, we hope weather cooperates, movies in the park. This is Zootopia 2 and Cuisine with Cops. Very fun combination, so I hope you can make that and enjoy both a movie and some fine cooking from our very own police professionals. That's at City Park Soccer Complex at 10475 Sheridan Boulevard, running from 7 to 10 p.m. On Saturday this weekend, this upcoming weekend, we have another free car seat clinic for our community provided by our fire department professionals. This one will be at Fire Station 2. That's at 9150 Lowell Boulevard, and that will run from 8:30 in the morning through till noon. You do need to make an appointment for that. It's often a pretty busy affair, so please call ahead at 303-658-2400, and we'll get your slot to have your car seat professionally installed by one of our fire department professionals. Next up on Saturday, Kensington Park Art Replacement Project Open House. So for anybody interested that either lives in the Kensington Park neighborhood or has had an interest over the last number of years in how that art project is progressing to replace those aged totem poles, you're welcome to drop in at this public open house, and that's at Kensington Park itself at 10200 Countryside Drive, and that will run from 10 a.m. to noon. So you can check out some of the exciting new art proposals for Kensington Park. Next slide, please. Finally, our next meeting of City Council will not be next Monday, because next Monday is May 25th, and that's Memorial Day, so city administrative offices are closed on Memorial Day. Our next meeting of City Council will be a study session, and that will be on the following Monday, June 1st of that following week. So sorry to disappoint, but no City Council meeting next week. Finally, you can contact us at any time by reporting issues or requests for service through our Access Westminster app. You can also go straight to our website, westminsterco.gov, Access Westminster, and that is a 24/7 reporting service that is GIS geotagged, so you can report potholes. There shouldn't be many of those left after Pothole Palooza, but there are other things that you may wish to report to us directly. You can always also phone the city, 303-658-2400, and if we're not there, we will have service provided 24/7 through AI assistance, and you can get our website, accesswestminsterco.gov. And as always, I do want to encourage you, if you have any questions about how the city is spending its money, you can visit our transparency portal that's right off of our main webpage, westminsterco.gov. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, City Manager. Are there any questions on the City Manager's report? Councilor Barajas?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, City Manager. Do we have, I know it doesn't need to be answered today, but just a request for maybe the next City Manager update on the drought watch update, just what impact the recent precipitation has had. I know residents have just been wondering. I know we still have a lot kind of in the bucket we need to fill, but I think just attending to that question would be great.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, Councilor Barajas, I will put an update in at the next meeting of council. We are anticipating, and it's projected, we have precipitation all week, on and off. You'll know that Westminster went into a drought watch versus mandatory restrictions. We still are encouraging people to please minimize your irrigation. We hope that the precipitation helps, but it's been a long, dry winter, and there isn't a lot of snowpack up there, so I'll be able to provide a more detailed update on the next meeting of City Council. Thank you.
I did have a couple of questions if no one else. Just on the neighborhood paving that we'll be doing each year, one, are we also tackling ADA accessibility? So I know we may have curb cuts that and crossings that may be not in alignment with ADA. So is that something that we're tackling with these paving projects?
Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate the question. Thank you. There are two parts to our ADA work. The first is anytime we go into a street or a neighborhood, we will make all the ADA-related upgrades as part of that work. So at the same time that 3H funding has increased funding for asphalt, we've also used that to increase funding for curb and concrete work, which will allow us to upgrade those ADA, to make ADA upgrades as part of those projects. We also have a program that sits beside that where we go through the city and upgrade ADA for ADA accessibility even when it's not a street that's getting paved. So we will be looking at those, and that's ongoing work for us. Ultimately, the two will coincide at the other end, and we'll have all of our crossings upgraded to ADA standards sooner rather than later.
Okay, great, thank you. And with those paving projects, just a thought that as we go in strategically to each neighborhood, it would be interesting to be able to have an input opportunity for that neighborhood to identify if there are any issues with crossings, pedestrian crossings, or unsafe areas. I'm just thinking of Amherst, where there's kind of a blind spot where painting some curbs would be great so that we don't have people parked in an area where their visibility is a concern. Just things like that that could be improved with the paving, and it's hopefully something easy. So, okay. And then can you clarify whether we'll have translation services at the update at the Irving Street Library tomorrow?
Mayor Pro Tem, let me get back to you on that. I had not included that in my slide, and I noticed the same thing, so I'll get back to you as to whether or not we'll have updated translation services for tomorrow night's meeting as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then just a clarification on the CDBG meeting. I'm assuming it's a public meeting on CDBG, not a public hearing, that the public hearing would be here at council. So just clarifying that people can attend that meeting, give input, but the hearing would be here.
It is a public meeting. I believe we use their terminology, but it's a public meeting. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, let's move on to city council comments. All right. I have Councilor Barajas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And just while we have the audience attention for the community update tomorrow, while I can't do live translation, I would be able to attend to any kind of Spanish language needs. So please, if you don't hear an update, please still attend. Or si quieres venir y escuchar en español mañana en la tarde, venga. Just a quick update on stuff that I did this week. I was, maybe some people knew I was out of commission and pretty sick this week, but recovered in time for a busy Saturday. Spent the morning with the Westy Dog Park Guardians and had a chance to kind of engage the community and hear from a lot of various stakeholders. Within there was an event where they did a lot of informational tabling for the community walking in and out of there. So I was grateful for the invitation and gladly took them up on the chance to meet with community. Us and the rest of council here, or myself and the rest of council here, attended the Armed Services ceremony this weekend as well at the Veterans Memorial. The Veterans Memorial location at City Park, and it was a really nice service, and it reminded me a lot of the services I would go to growing up with my grandparents as veterans. And then finally had a chance to check out the Station 5 open house with other members of council as well. It was a great time to get a chance to chat with the police and fire who were at the event, along with the community and the volunteers that were there as well. So special thanks to C Fire for putting that on, along with our community services team in the fire department.
Great, Councilor Hott.
Yes, so first I want to thank everybody who came out to speak tonight. I did attend the ribbon cutting for the Big Dry Creek Steam Bank Restoration Project that is at City Park. If you have not had a chance to see what staff has done and the team has done, you should really go check it out. It's really amazing. And then I also attended Armed Forces Day, the celebration, and that was wonderful, like it was last year and the year before. And then I also wanted to announce that we are having our second annual Pride event. And that's going to be on Saturday, June 6th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Last year, we partnered with the Butterfly Pavilion. This year, we are partnering with Broomfield. So this will be Broomfield and Westminster's Pride event, and it will be at our Aerostat Park in our downtown Westminster. So I hope people can join us there. Thank you so much.
All right, Councilor Ireland.
Hi, I want to thank everyone that came out to talk and give their perspective. I attended the Staples ribbon cutting on 120th and Westminster. They have combined with Party City, which is a brilliant merger for one-stop shopping. And they are a great at matching prices on any of your printing needs, so that was impressive. I attended the National Police Week ceremony and proclamation, and it was truly a privilege to honor the men and women in law enforcement for their service and sacrifice in keeping our community safe. I was disappointed the police department was unable to fly the blue line flag at City Hall during National Police Week, as has been the tradition in our city for many years. Instead, the blue line flag was displayed in a much smaller form on the back of a bagpipe playing Amazing Grace. I want our police officers to know that I deeply appreciate their dedication, courage, and sacrifice. I am grateful for all they do for the community, and I regret that their blue line flag was not flying over the City Hall during National Police Week. I attended the Parks, Recreation, Libraries, Open Space Advisory Board meeting. They had an overview of the parks and uplands and possible plans for regional parks. I was also shown plans for the remodel of the Irving Library, and there's a survey online for the teen area, because we have a grant for the teen area, and there was 3 choices to choose from. So if that's interesting to you, go on and choose one of those choices. And we're also updated on the golf courses. Sales are 15% above last year, which is great to hear, especially in our economy. It was an honor to attend the Armed Forces ceremony on Saturday and give honor to our veterans and read new names of those who have bricks in the Armed Forces Park in their honor. I also attended the Fire Station 5 open house. It's always a great traditional activity for families. Kids really seem to love riding on the old fire trucks, so it was great for families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Ireland. I was going to just add to Councilor Hott that we also are partnering with the Butterfly Pavilion for on June 18th for another Adult Pride Day event. So we have some options in June. And I was wondering, City Manager Andrews, if with respect to the flag on the police ceremony, for the police ceremony that I was able to attend this week, I was just wondering if you had any context for the flag, I guess, concerns over the police flag not flying in the same position it normally would.
Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate the question. So the organizers decided to make a change this year with the format, and the way I understand it, it was to have everybody facing the recognition statues in front of the speakers. That's my understanding of the changes this year, and then actually display. There were multiple flags displayed as part of that ceremony. So that's my understanding. That was the choice of the organizers to do it this way this year.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate getting that extra context because I know people are concerned. Okay, any other comments? Okay. All right, we'll move on to requests for future agenda titles. Do any councilors have any potential agenda items for future agenda item discussion? Councilor Azadi.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask council for June 1st. So our city council meeting on June 1st, the youth advisory panel would like to send some members to present on their year. So last week was the final meeting of the year till the next school year, and we would like them to have more FaceTime with city council, and this is one of those, the first opportunity that they can come and present to us for 10 minutes on how the year went, the projects that they worked on, what's coming next year. You know, this has been an amazing group of kids to watch as the liaison to that group, and we have a lot of plans on figuring out how to expand the size, the scope, and make sure that they can become even more integrated with the city council processes like strategic planning, and having a youth perspective is really important, and I think this could be the first opportunity for them to do that. So requesting a poll for them to come in on June 1st.
All right, let's take a poll. You want to start, Councilor Barajas?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
That is a study session, right? Is that what you want them to? Study session? Are you good with that? We have room for that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. It is a study session. We only have one item on that night. It's a budget evening. So I think we could, if council directed, we could certainly have the students come in, begin with a study session item, and then we could transition to the other item that night.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Azadi. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? I have Councilor Ireland.
Is this the time that we bring up policy when he was talking about, or is that later?
Say it again.
When we bring up policy issues that we want to bring up.
Oh, you had one?
Yeah, I had one.
Okay, I went to let's go backtrack to item 8.
Actually, I have two.
Okay.
I've brought these proposals of the strategic plan, the hybrid ward system, where we have 4 wards, 1 in each ward plus 2 at large, and the mayor. And I would like to propose that to be put on this year's ballot. Also, that the city council no longer fills vacancies. Instead, those that vote in the last election, whoever got 4th place, if they're 2/3 of the person above them, that they fill the vacancy, and then the next one down the line, those 2 with any vacancies that we may have. I would also like that on the ballot and to bring that proposal forward.
Great. Let's take a poll on the first. One question, I guess, for my fellow council colleagues. Do you at all want to have, during this item, do you want to have any discussion, or you just want to take a poll after?
I was planning on saying it while I gave my, if that helps.
Okay, okay, maybe we can go with that. Does that sound good? Okay, all right, Councilor Zadi.
So a few years ago, before my time actually, we had a wards question, and a few years ago I really fought hard to have a wards question. We had the wards question, and the city still said no. I think we've tried it a few times, and there is ballot fatigue. I don't know if it's necessary to continue to ask the same question to residents and have them not take us seriously if we're not listening to them. Why keep asking residents if they have said no to us multiple times?
Well, the last proposal was the hybrid was coming later at the next election. It was all not on one ballot, so that was very confusing. And it's another thing, we did not really back it like we did 3H. We didn't even say anything hardly, so that's the difference. It barely did not pass, by the way.
For the second one, I'm a no, but for this wards one, if my colleagues agree, then sure, we can try again if we can word it differently, but I'm not a strong yes, but I can be a yes on that if you have a vision on how to frame it the right way.
And let's do the first topic first, and then we'll go back around and do the second. Councilor Barajas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you for the questions, Councilor Ireland. Would a point of clarification, would they be presented as an ordinance as stated, or would this be something that we can kind of hear feedback from staff and give kind of more detailed responses to, so we can form it into like an official, I guess I want to say yes to both, but I also would like a chance to kind of hear from staff and kind of develop it as a body with some discussion and some research.
Okay, officially, the wards thing we beat to death. We had a group to talk about it, and it came back that they really wanted a hybrid, but that's not what was on the ballot. Going forward, that's the way I worded it was probably the preferred, and I've talked to some others. I haven't talked to our attorney, but the attorney, Graham, I talked to him, and he said that was the best way to go forward.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's the one as far as the other one, we can discuss, because we really have not discussed it the way we want to word it, so.
Okay, yeah, I mean, maybe yes to since we're talking about the first one right now, yes to the first one with a request maybe of some FYI stuff around it, before we go into voting and stuff, but yes.
Before Councilor Johnson goes, City Attorney Frankel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So item 8 on your agenda tonight is really to propose future agenda items for discussion. It's not necessarily to have a public policy discussion on a non-agendized item tonight, right? If you, as a council, want to agendize an item for future discussion, we will post it on an agenda. That would be my recommendation, so that you could have a full discussion, perhaps at a study session on the subjects of your choosing.
Thank you for that clarification. So I'm going to take it that regarding having this on an agenda, future agenda, Councilor Zadi.
Yes to the first one.
Okay. And Barajas? Yes. Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm a yes to the first one as long as it's a study session item, because I want to have kind of more thorough conversation, and I think a study session is the appropriate venue.
Okay. I'm a yes as well. Okay. Councilor Hott?
I'm a yes to a study session.
Councilor, so I'm yes. Yes, great. Okay, all right, we'll get that on a future, probably sooner than later, agenda item. All right, on the second item, which I don't know why I'm spacing. What is just for clarity?
Appointments.
Appointments, yes. So sorry. Would you like to have the appointment process on a future agenda item?
No.
Yes.
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 No. And of course, I'm a yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move forward with both of those items in the future. Okay, anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Councilor Barajas.
I move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8C.
Councilor Johnson.
Second.
All right. Do roll call.
Councilor Barajas?
Yes.
Councilor Zadi?
Yes.
Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Councilor Ireland?
Yes.
Councilor Johnson?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
Okay, that moves us on to item 10 in the agenda, appointments and resignations. We do have a Metro Water Recovery Board of Directors appointment. Do I have a motion? Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. I move to appoint Kurt Alstat to the Metro Water Recovery District Board of Directors with a term of office effective July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028.
Okay, Councilor Hott.
Second.
All right, we'll have a roll call.
Councilor Zadi?
Yes.
Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Councilor Ireland?
Yes.
Councilor Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
And Councilor Barajas?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-0 vote.
And thank you to Mr. Alstott for continuing service on the board. Okay. We don't have any public hearings this evening. We have no new business, and there is no old business. So before we adjourn, I do believe we have a reason for, we're going to be adjourning to a post-meeting study session for a couple of public open presentations, and then we have reason for executive session.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So yes, at the conclusion of the two public sessions that are on tonight's post-meeting agenda, there are 3 executive sessions listed. And if council's willing, I would offer the title of each, and you could ask your colleagues whether or not they would like to convene an exec session for those titles. The first one is an executive session for consultation with special counsel regarding Adams County District Court case number 2025 CV 31337, which is Lopez et al. Versus Zborowski et al. For legal advice and to instruct negotiators pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code 1113 C3 and 7 and Colorado Revised Statute 246-402 4B and E1.
Can I have council state whether they're willing to go into executive session for this item?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The second executive session on tonight's agenda is to obtain direction on a proposed development assistance agreement with Wazi Partners for a proposed income-aligned housing development located at 3300 West 72nd Avenue, and to instruct the city's negotiators pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246-402 4E1 and Westminster Municipal Code 1113 C4 and 7.
All right, can my council mates let me know if they want to go in this?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next item.
Thank you. The final executive session on tonight's agenda is for a conference with and receive legal advice from the city attorney regarding special permit and license board procedures, investigations, and enforcement mechanisms related to business licenses and liquor licenses pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code 1113 C8 and Colorado Revised Statutes 246-402 4B.
Council?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. With that, time is now 7:31, and the May 18th, 2026 meeting of the Westminster City Council is adjourned. We will go into the boardroom for our post-meeting presentations and executive sessions in 5. ready?
Windy in here.
Yeah. All right, welcome to this evening's post-meeting study session. City Manager Andrews, do we have a post-meeting presentation this evening?
We do. I'll turn it directly over to Director Lindsay Kimball, and she'll introduce our guest tonight.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors. Lindsay Kimball, Director of Community Services. I'm happy to have with me tonight representatives from Westminster Public Schools, a great partner of the city and all of our economic development efforts. And it's really a pleasure to work with them always. They're here tonight to present to you about the Forward Together Facilities Initiative, which staff has been a part of probably for the last 18 months. We've been attending the community meetings and been engaged in this process, evaluating data and discussing different options for Westminster Public Schools. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Duffy and Dr. Gatto.
We, hold on one second. We're going to confirm.
Will you say something so I can
we have
check.
And I will just say it's a little loud down here, so use your stage voice.
Yes.
Teacher voices.
Teacher voice.
Teacher voice. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So, good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Mr. Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to talk about our Forward Together Facility Initiative. As Lindsay said, the work has happened over the past year and a half, and Dr. Gatto and I can go into excruciating detail. We have been told, keep it short, keep it quick, provide time for questions. So we will do that, and to help me do that, I will use a script. So we're here to share the work of the Forward Together Facilities Initiative. But more importantly, we're here to talk about what the work reveals about Westminster as a community. Over the past several decades, our district has seen enrollment decline from more than 13,000 students to just under 7,000 today. On the surface, this sounds like a school issue. But what we've come to understand through this process is that it's something much broader. It reflects changes in who can afford to live here, the types of housing being built, and the number of families with children in our community. For us, declining enrollment is a school metric, but for you, it's a community indicator. And that distinction matters because the decisions we're making about our schools are not just operational. They intersect directly with housing patterns, land use, infrastructure, and long-term economic vitality. Tonight, we're not going to walk through every individual school change. Instead, we want to share what's driving these trends, how we approached our decisions, and where there are opportunities for alignment and partnership with the city moving forward. Because ultimately, this is not just about right-sizing a school system. It's about aligning public resources with the future of the community. And that's the work we share. As I mentioned, over the past several decades, Westminster Public Schools has experienced a significant decline in enrollment from over 13,000 students to just under 7,000 in our latest October count. So this slide is slightly out of date. But what's important for this group is that it's not just a school issue. Declining enrollment reflects broader changes in Westminster. Fewer school-aged families, shifting housing patterns, and impacts to long-term workforce and economic vitality. As I previously mentioned, for us, enrollment is a school metric. But for you, it's a community indicator tied to housing, economic development, and long-term planning. Data indicate that fewer births are occurring amongst families living within the school district's footprint, and that the overall district resident population is also declining. Last week, we received updated figures from our demographer, and the downward trend continues with district-specific births falling to 905 for the 2025 year. Lower birth rates are the clearest indicators of future elementary enrollment. Fewer births mean fewer students. Our enrollment decline is being driven by three major structural factors. Fewer children are being born. Global, national, and regional data all point to downward trends. Housing is less accessible to families. In the Denver metro region, housing is on average 24% higher than the national average. And community demographics are changing. We're aging. And for us, we're aging in place, with many retirees staying in their homes, further tightening the housing market. These are the same macro trends that influence your work in housing planning and economic development. This is not something the district can reverse alone. It reflects broader community conditions. One of the most important insights from this work is more housing does not necessarily mean more students. While we do have some larger single-family home developments, much of the development we see, townhomes, apartments, smaller units, generates far fewer school-age children. Much of the development we are experiencing in the southern portions of our district is infill. Older homes are being scraped and higher density multi-units take their place. It is also important to note that most of the single-family home developments are sprinkled throughout the district, and they are typically smaller, similar to infill developments with 50 or fewer homes per site. This directly connects to land use and housing policy, because housing mix influences whether families with children can and do live in the community. So while units increase, student population may not. We look closely at developments like the Uplands. Even at this scale, the mix of housing types limits the number of students generated. Using standard student generation rates and after an in-depth analysis by our demographer, we believe our anticipated enrollment from the Uplands to be somewhere between 300 to 600 students. And if you look at the lower right-hand corner of the chart, we believe it'll be closer to 310 students generated out of the 2,300 homes being built. From a planning perspective, this means growth in housing units alone will not translate into growth in school-age population. It is also important to note, even developments of this scale will not offset enrollment decline without broader changes in the housing mix found throughout the rest of the district. As enrollment declines, it impacts how we think about our facilities. School buildings are major public assets, just like roads, utilities, and other city facilities. And like any infrastructure system, assets age. Maintenance costs increase, and decisions must be made about reinvestment or repurposing. These are the same asset management decisions you make as a council. How to responsibly invest in infrastructure over time. We are facing the same challenges within our system. To support our decisions, we used a facility condition index. This compares the cost to repair a building to the cost of replacing a building. This is similar to how cities evaluate infrastructure lifecycle cost, when continued repair is no longer the most responsible investment. The FCI provided us an objective way to help guide our decisions. But facility condition alone is not enough. We evaluated each school using multiple factors: building condition, enrollment trends, cost efficiency, and community context. This mirrors how you evaluate projects, balancing condition, utilization, cost, and community impact. No single factor determined the outcome. To ensure consistency, we applied a data-driven rubric. Each factor was scored, weighted, and combined into an overall evaluation. This ensures decisions are transparent and defensible, similar to how the city applies consistent criteria across planning and investment decisions. As a result, we are recommending a phased set of changes over several years. These include consolidating underutilized schools, repurposing facilities, and aligning programs to enrollment. So for example, this coming school year, we are taking Flynn Elementary and Shaw Heights Middle School and combining them into a PK-8 campus that we have renamed Uplands Discovery Campus. Within that building, we have our day treatment program, the Instructional Service Center, and that will be moving. Yes or no?
The instruction, it will be moving. It has to, it's in the basement right now, and to fit both schools in one building while our Uplands construction is happening, we do have to relocate the Instructional Services Center.
Yes. And while we have targeted one school, we are having discussions about whether that will be the best fit for that particular school. One thing throughout our plan, we, a number of years ago, moved to PK-8s in a lot of our schools. And we found that our small PK-8s did not have the number of students in the middle levels needed to provide robust educational opportunities and enrichment for those students. So we are now looking at PK-6 models and consolidating our middle level programs into 4 of our larger PK-8s. And so Sherrillwood on the east side of our district will become a PK-6 school. And as students matriculate, they will move into Colorado Summit Leadership Academy down in the southeast corner of the district. Westminster Academy for International Studies will be combined and rolled into Harris Park. And Harris Park will become a PK-6. And then the 7th and 8th grade students will move up to Uplands Discovery Campus. The following year, Fairview will become a PK-6. Their 7th and 8th graders will roll into the larger Colorado Summit Leadership Academy. That same year, Tennyson Knolls on the southwest side of the district, same model, will convert from PK-8 to PK-6 with 7th and 8th graders moving over to Hodgkins Leadership Academy. In 28-29, the new construction at the Uplands Discovery Campus, we're adding about 40,000 additional square feet to the Flynn building. We will then be able to open the campus and have both buildings functional at that time. For the next 2 years, programming will be in the Shaw Heights building. Sunset Ridge will transition PK-6 with their 7th, 8th graders rolling into Discovery Campus. Mesa, we will close that building. We are currently under a rebounding process and working with the committee. We will look at how we will reboundary the Mesa Elementary footprint right now and where to assign those students. And then Hidden Lake Secondary School at 73rd and Lowell will move into the Mesa building. So basically, we're happy to go through each individual change tonight, but I want to highlight the broader implication. These decisions will change how some publicly owned sites are used across the city, and that has direct connections to land use, neighborhood dynamics, and future redevelopment opportunities. So I want to close with what this means moving forward. These changes create opportunities for partnership between the district and city, specifically aligning housing strategy with family retention strategies, planning for the reuse of school sites, and coordinating long-term community development. These are shared systems, housing, infrastructure, and community planning, and they work best when aligned. Declining enrollment and school use is not just a district issue. It is a shared community challenge that requires coordinated solutions. We look forward to continuing that partnership with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's go around and get to council questions. Councilor Azadi, you want to start?
Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. I've heard for some time now that you guys have been a really great example of partnership. You know, you've worked with the city, you've worked with other stakeholders, and they all are speaking highly of you. So thanks for the work that you've done on this. I have a few questions. First one being the 13K to 7K. Do you know what the cost per student was on average at 13K versus what it is at 7K? Because if cost per student was I'm guessing is a major metric for your efficiency, right?
And every building, as we do look at that data, I don't have it with me at this moment, but every building, depending on, we have some buildings that have 200 students, some buildings that have 700 students, and then depending on the programming at that building. Hidden Lake Secondary School, as an alternative school, we do staff that building very different as we look to have smaller class sizes with our alternative education students. So the cost per pupil in that building is significantly higher than, say, a Fairview Elementary. So it is different. Our state funding changes, our per pupil funding, which all comes from the state, changes every year. And especially as the School Finance Act has went through a variety of changes. So it changes pretty significantly. I know at the board meeting on Tuesday night that came up, and today it's about $19,000 per student is what it costs to educate a child in Westminster Public Schools. But it is different depending on the building that the student is attending, what that true cost is.
So the district is about 19 per kid. And as Dr. Gatto was saying, we did look building by building, and it ranged from about a little under 10,000 per student in some buildings to, as she mentioned, Hidden Lake is one of our more expensive buildings to run. And that the cost per student in that building was a little over $15,000.
Do you have an estimate of, so with the School Finance Act and what the state has done to the school budgets across the state, Jeffco Public Schools, for example, they did an analysis that said, I think it was $2 billion that have been lost over the last 13 years or something. How much has WPS lost out from all the state level chaos?
It's not obviously the $2 billion that Jeffco has experienced, as we're not nearly as large as that district.
It's been, I think, around $1 billion.
Yeah.
$1 billion?
Yeah.
Wow. And you are much smaller than.
Yes, and over time have gotten significantly smaller.
So you mentioned about declining enrollment. You know, that's important to me. So one of my biggest priorities is childcare. And I believe that we have a real intense childcare crisis. So I do think there is an intersectionality between declining enrollment and the crisis that's happening, right? Because if we see that the data shows that we're aging, and we know that the childcare crisis is impacting particularly young families that can't find access or affordable care. Mm-hmm. There has been a mass exodus of young families from Westminster. And as older residents are aging in place, so that those dynamics, I think, are significant together. From your perspective, where you're looking at declining enrollment and you're studying the trends and the data, past and future, do you see any relation to childcare, particularly the lack of, from a provider standpoint and cost standpoint, and how that has impacted your enrollment?
I think over time the district, I think probably for 15 years, long before the state provided free preschool, our district and our Board of Education made the decision to pay for full-day kinder. Then the next, I don't know how many years down the road, pre-me, the decision was to start providing free pre-K. So now full free day preschool, we knew we needed to provide these opportunities to draw our families in. And for many of our low-income students, we knew that they needed that extra kickstart. Then 5 years ago, I believe it was 2020, we took the big leap to put in a child care facility to try and another way to capture enrollment. And we did make the decision through the Forward Together, this whole process, that we took that program offline because it wasn't, the intent was that is it another way to draw families in? And we weren't keeping any of those students. They were coming in from another district, and then when they got to school age, they were moving back to that district. And as we looked at the cost analysis of that, our funding stream is meant to pay for K-12 education. And so we put about $2.5 million in that program over the past 5 years. So it was a strategy used to try and pull kids in because we did believe that there's something to the child care desert that exists within our community, but our funding is not meant to go to that, so we did make the hard decision to close down that child care facility. For outside students, we are still, we moved four or five classrooms, we're still in the works of this, over to the Gregory Hill campus, so that's still for Westminster Public Schools families that have babies to 3-year-olds, that we still will have a spot for them that we will provide childcare at a cost. And then also a retention model for our staff is providing childcare at a cost to our staff members as well. So we do know that has an impact. So we've tried to implement strategies to address that as much as we can within
And we're always looking for partners. And as we're looking at space in our buildings, that is one of the sectors that we have said we would like to target. And, for example, we do have a small school building. We call it Shaw Primary. It's down on Circle Drive. Adams County Head Start leases that at a very nice rate from us to provide community child care. So, it is something that we realize we want to get the kids in as early as possible.
Well, I think with all the budget challenges, right, it was really smart of you to keep it for Westminster versus for, because you had a lot of outside folks using those, right?
Yeah, yes.
And you mentioned about housing, so more housing does not necessarily, or has not historically correlated with higher enrollment. What kind of housing would you say is the most impactful or the highest ROI for enrollment, let's call it?
I really would say it would be single family, family-friendly type homes. What we're seeing, especially in the southern end of the district, you take what was a 1940s, 1,000 square foot home, and someone comes in and buys it at a fair price, and they scrape it. And then they build 8 townhomes on that same lot that they're now selling for $700,000. That is not going to attract families or young people who are starting families. I mean, they're priced out at the market for the most part there. So, we need to find what's affordable and what are the amenities that someone who's starting a family wants. And whether, it doesn't necessarily need to be a big yard, but a place for the kids to play, access to a local park, a friendly type community. But, we're in the south end of the district. I call us Denver adjacent. And, we butt up against the Highlands, and we all are aware of what has happened in the Highlands, and it becomes cost prohibitive, and so people are just moving north and slowly gentrifying the district.
And we do see that Westminster is built out to we have 2.2% land left, available land. And we also see a cost of living crisis, right? And like I mentioned, there's the child care crisis that's kind of silent, but most families are facing this right now. So it sounds like from what you're saying, though, that the best way, the highest ROI, is for us as a city to figure out how to reduce people's cost of living, which is our priority, right? But also to make sure that we have a balance of the right kind of housing in the remaining 2% that we have. And as you know, it's really expensive for new first-time home buyers to even get in, and that's why we're looking at that too. So, but thank you for the work that you've done.
Councilor Hart, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any additional questions. I was fortunate enough to see, I was one of the first people that got to see the changes. I'm going to go on a quick tangent. This is my first year at WPS, and I've had nothing but good things to say. My council members can even attest to that. I think it's a wonderful district. I have felt really supported my first year, and the kids are just great. And yeah, I've had some really, really wonderful classes this week so far today, and I'm in the same class I was last week. Great group of kids, and I'm enjoying it so much that I'm coming back next year. And yeah, I'm like, I'm 42. I got a good 25 years left in me. So
We like it.
When I term out, I plan to become, I would like my own classroom, and middle school is my favorite. And so, yeah, I cannot say enough good things about the district and the support that I feel as a teacher there. And so I just, I think Westminster Public Schools is wonderful. So I just wanted to go on that quick tangent.
Thank you.
Councilor Barajas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for the presentation. A few quick questions. Do you have any, or can you anticipate any logistical concerns with some of the shifting populations, and kind of potentially increasing student population in certain school buildings? I'm thinking traffic concerns with pickup, drop-off, and buses, or increased need for SROs, things like that the city should be aware of. Is there anything that you can anticipate? And maybe even community or cultural impacts, food banks and other things that might be housed in them. Is there anything that the city should be aware of with some of these changes that you can anticipate?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. It would be. I think it would be helpful. Either right now, please feel free to share, or yes.
So I don't believe if council received a letter, but I did send a letter in support of and asking folks to consider an additional SRO for the district. As we look at our schools and we realize safety is not just a high school issue. Right now, the city has been great. The partnership with PD is great. Rich is a great commander, Rich Salazar. And we have 2 SROs. They're housed at Westminster High School, and they do a lot of support over at Hidden Lake, our alternative school. But we do have some other schools that we would like, at least a little check-in coverage. And I know the guys, do their best and to build those relationships. But we all know if something happens, the district and the PD, no matter how great the response is, we are going to take it on the chin in any crisis. So yes, additional SROs. Okay. We are, again, as we look at some of our buildings, we have put out an RFP to see if there are any nonprofits in the area that would like to look at some sort of joint use of the building. We know food insecurity is an issue that a lot of our families face. And we have partnered and we're growing our partnership with Community Table. Mm-hmm. But we would like to have something within the Westminster footprint. Okay. I mean, Community Table is in Arvada. It's, just Westminster adjacent. But, we would like something in Westminster. And then your transportation. Yes. It is an issue. I will use an example that right now I am trying to work out, not to put Lindsay on the spot, but I have been reaching out to the city. I talked about the consolidation of Westminster Academy and Harris Park.
Okay.
Harris Park being where it is located within that community and the design of the school, traffic, especially pickup, is a nightmare. And we have, the first few weeks of school usually have conflicts with the neighbors. We try to be good neighbors. We try to work with our parents. Putting more kids in that building, we anticipate will increase traffic. We are looking at what we can do to extend parking, but what we would like to do is create a joint use with the city that would allow us each afternoon, especially for drop-off, to encourage our parents to park at Wolf Run Park, and then we run a shuttle bus from the school over. So we keep the traffic out of the neighborhood and, hopefully keep the neighbors a little happy.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And Director Kimball, if I could just make a request to keep kind of us and Public Works and Utilities kind of in terms of like road design, traffic, like all that kind of things, particularly in some of these hotspot zones would be helpful. Just a quick, if you're recommending it, I'm imagining you've gone through kind of the security and kind of other protocols around maybe the difficulty of shuttling students and having like continued supervision off-site. But I think we'd welcome any partnership in trying to alleviate resident concerns around any sort of impact on that. So I thank you for talking through those points. Just a quick, this is something that kind of came up as you were going through some of those slides. Councilor Ireland, myself, and the mayor went to a couple of months ago, a summit for Adams County around, there was one of the big pieces was demographic, and it's come up a lot kind of in a lot of the conversations that we've had. So I'm curious if, it's helpful to have some of these conversations, obviously here, as we kind of think through policy, but going through some of these demographic changes as we're kind of shuffling downstream seems a little, it's important to do and it's important to discuss, but kind of I'd like to move the conversation proceeding, right, like to the other end of this kind of decision-making process. So I'm curious if there's a possibility, and maybe this is more for staff to kind of think through, but like a periodic summit with around demographics, childcare, development, and like job growth sectors. I think that was really helpful. Front Range Community College really did a great job housing that information. But if it would be helpful to kind of have these, policymaking bodies like the school districts and various municipal governments, just all together for some sort of summit would be, I think, helpful, so it can help influence our policymaking more regularly. Yeah. I think that would be helpful, and if you would be willing partners in that, I would.
And I think all of the Westminster school districts, we're all in the same boat. Yeah. Numbers are different a little bit, where we're losing 400 kids, they're losing 1,500 students. So yeah, we're all facing very similar challenges and having to do this work where we're hearing every night new closures in each district across the metro area. So it's real, and working together, I think, is how we'll get through it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just a few highlights, no need to necessarily respond to these, but just some community feedback that I've been hearing around, and not necessarily solely on your school district. As you mentioned, there's multiple school districts in this municipality, and all of them are sharing similar struggles. But as you kind of share the updates on some of these changes, it's an opportunity to share budget impacts as well. Like, hey, look, we're being responsible with budget. Hey, here's the shortfall that we're avoiding. Hey, here's the current shortfall. I think that is part of the communication, but just maybe bringing that to the front, because everyone's wondering right now about taxation, school funding, all of those things. And I think just the lesson that we've learned is over-communicate is under-communicate, right? And so just encourage you to kind of join us in that constant mission. And then finally, I think some of the parents that I've been engaged engaging with, and to your point, right, like fewer and fewer families with students. But you know, as these schools kind of shift, they're worried that they're going to miss out, like, you know, their kid's favorite club, or this auxiliary personnel, paraprofessional, someone who kind of makes the school really the gem. And I would just be remiss to not just voice and echo that concern that, you know, again, maybe communicating that we're still, you know, hey, parents, what is it that makes this one school that's going to be moving into here different? Here's how we're going to attend to those things. Obviously, it's a budget question, but even if it's an after-school program that's kind of low cost instead of kind of budget impact, high budget impact item, just attending, I think, to that concern. Everyone's scared with these changes, and you know that better than us for sure. But that's kind of the concern that I've been getting.
I think even with the committee, that was one of our biggest concerns is with the smaller PK8s, we know we were losing some of the great performing arts opportunities, because in a small school with 200 students, we couldn't offer those types of things. And with our Random Innovation Campus, we want to provide those CTE opportunities. So that was actually one of the reasons we made that shift back away from all PK8s to we're going to have 4, where when they get to those middle school years, we can provide the great opportunities that our families want. Yeah. As I went and had the conversation with our Westminster Academy families, as we made the decision to move them over to Harris Park, those were exactly the things. I know who my teacher's going to be. I have the relationships. I don't want to lose them, which those relationships, I think, as Councilor Hott mentioned, are in every one of our schools. So we immediately set up visits to that school, special for our Westminster Academy family, to go be introduced to the staff at that building, to know that they will love your children just as much as the teachers at Westminster Academy, as well as many of those staff members will follow the kids over to that school to maintain some of the relationships that mean so much to parents and students. Yeah. But a big piece here in these changes is to bring back opportunities for students that were lost in the small school model.
Thanks, I appreciate your attendance to that. Yeah.
That was kind of what I was going to ask, how much involvement the parents had with the decision-making process of switching schools around, you know, declining population, because I have grandkids going through this in their public schools. So it's really disruptive for special needs parents. I don't know what you're doing with their kids or where they're going, but I've talked to special needs parents, you know, they're always upset where their kid's going to end up in the shuffle. Yeah. So I hope that we're talking to parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, in these demographics, how much are you considering charter schools, homeschooling, and those demographics leaving public schools?
Well, throughout this process, one of the things that we did is typically the Colorado Department of Education will just give you, numbers to say how many students you lose to another district and how many students are coming in. But they don't necessarily tell us where. Okay. We were able to work with CDE, and they gave us a 2-year trend. So we were able to identify where the students were going when they left the district. And so we found some hot spots in neighboring districts right on the border around us, but charters and online were, another large, segment of where people were going. So that gives us information on, what do we need to do as we look at our programming to enhance it and make it attractive to try and attract people back.
I know safety is a big thing because I've talked to kids, I've talked to parents. Safety is huge. Also, there's one other thing I was going to ask. Oh, I know the Hmong community has reached out to me looking for a place to have events, community center. So you might reach out to them, schools that are closing, because they need a kitchen, they need a place. When they celebrate, it's a week, there's a lot of celebrating. So they are looking for a place. So that's what I did.
And that's good to know, and thank you for that. I mean, we always partnered with them for many, many years to do their summer festival on the Shaw Heights, campus. So it's a community that we do support, and something like that would be a great
for a
fit.
place of their own, so, or even share would be great. So,
Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. I got on council in December, and one of the first things we had to deal with, the first big things
Where I had to really dive in deep was the acquisition of Zerger Elementary School by a developer and that the district had sold. And it raised, I think, a serious question, which you had mentioned, is that our decisions affect you all a lot and how we plan to develop, but your decisions also affect us a lot. And especially as you are choosing to close or consolidate schools, I would love to hear, I heard a little bit about nonprofits and things, but a more comprehensive overview of what the plan is with these publicly owned school sites as it relates to the district's planning at district level, but then also interacting with the city level, because when it lands in our lap without us having conversation, it makes for really difficult conversations for us versus front-end conversations and partnership. And so I'm curious about that.
So I'll use a specific example. I mentioned Hidden Lake Secondary School moving up to Mesa. So that is going to leave a building on the corner of 73rd and Lowell. Now, the building's facility index rates it as critical. That building has significant needs. And as a district, we believe it probably should come down. We know there are members of the community that believe there is a way to breathe life into that building. I have met with Lindsay and her team just because of where that building is located and the proximity to Westminster Station and any future TOD development or development the city is looking at doing down there. Over the years, I've worked with a number of people at the city as plans have been developed, and, you know, we realize sometimes it takes years to get things off the ground. But trying to look future forward, what's going to happen to that segment of South Westminster? How are you looking at revitalizing it? And then what might be something that we could put there on the corner of 73rd that would align with your vision and help elevate the district and the community? We've looked at, for Westminster Academy, we've looked at the Harris Park redevelopment plan, and we've had conversations there also. So, you know, we've been trying throughout the process to, you know, work with staff here at the city to say, okay, what are you doing? What are we doing? I know, for example, in talking with Lindsay, the school that reverted back to you folks in Jeffco, at one point there was a church who was looking for daycare, and it fell through there, and it was, well, send them our way, you know, we might be able to work something out. So I think what's important is for us not to go it alone, for you not to go it alone, but for us to be at the table together and have ongoing conversations. Because, as you said, what you do impacts us, and what we do impacts you. And at the end of the day, we don't want you grumbling at us and vice versa.
That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the, you know, presentation and really just where you are at with respect to the declining enrollment. I know there's not really a solution to that something that we can handle in this, you know, in a generation. So it is sad to hear, but it's kind of our nation right now. We're just not producing more children to replace us. And so I do appreciate that you're looking to see how you maximize the benefit you can get to the students. I've always loved hearing your presentations about how thoughtful you are as a district about the student experience. And so I wish more people knew that, because I think they would pick your district, you know, instead of sending off. So the only, I guess, questions I have were kind of similar to some of my council colleagues with respect to just hoping that you'll continue to work very closely with our staff, particularly around the transportation side. I know that, I hope you don't feel like you have to come up with the solutions all the time, that our staff know these areas, our police officers know what's happening, and so the more collaborative we can be on the solution.
Oh, trust me, we lean heavily on
Okay,
that.
good. All right. And then with respect to the disposition of the properties, yeah, there, hopefully there are some great partnerships that you can find with community organizations. I was just thinking about Alante, who was saying they need a building. And so there are organizations out there I think would actually both benefit our community here in Westminster, but the Westminster district community as well. So I'm hoping that
we do a lot with Adelante at the VIA Center, so they utilize that facility quite a bit.
Great. Okay. And so I know you're working with our staff on those different opportunities. I don't know. Do we have an IGA with you?
We have a number of different IGAs. We have an IGA with the police department. We have an IGA with Park and Rec. Trying to think.
Okay. Well, the only thought was that as you continue to look at, the repositioning of properties, it'd be great if we had some type of opportunity for a right to repurchase, but not repurchase, a right to a first refusal or something like that on properties. If you are going to, move on from a specific site, just so that we have the option, that would be fantastic. I know that we're trying to figure out other ways to utilize buildings, but if you're going to demolish a building, that starts to set us on a course. So, yeah, that's all I had. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate, I feel like we do have a great partnership with the city, and your full team is always willing and right there to support us and work together and partner on all the projects that we engage in. So we very much appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody good to move to the next?
Great.
A little hot in here.
It is.
A little hot.
Turn it on.
Keep it going. Turn it on.
I've been watching that.
It was a joke, but go for it, yeah.
No, it's not a joke. It's hot.
I'm going to take off my sweater, I guess.
It's hot. Come on, guys.
Feeling pretty comfy.
You're the closest near the door.
Yeah,
That might be it, because I feel pretty comfy.
You guys need some travel. This is not that.
Well, then how do you explain that I'm comfy?
I have no idea. You tell me.
Because I'm
Maybe
pretty
you travel a lot.
bad.
I was going to send you
We're taking a break.
Yeah. I guess we're taking a break. These are only
Harris Park is where I've been at. The park. You show up early and you get stuck at the stop sign. So like,
Range Passenger Rail project and the joint service plan that we've talked to you about in the past. If we could, as we go through our slides tonight, if I could ask you to hold your questions into the back end of the presentation, I think we'll get a lot more faster through the slides, and that way we can get to your questions as quickly as possible. And the last thing before I turn it over to Sal to begin our conversation, this is going to be the first time of three things that we're going to be talking to you about over the next, say, six-ish months. Tonight, we're going to start with a presentation. We're going to set the stage for you about what Front Range Rail and joint service at the downtown location is going to bring to the city. On June 8th, we are scheduled, not formally yet, but scheduled to bring a resolution that supports that topic. I'll be back with you with a presentation and we'll have a conversation. Then later this summer, staff will be receiving and reviewing a memorandum of understanding, which we will be then taking to you for formal action. Again, we're not sure exactly when that's going to be scheduled. We are expecting, Brandon and I were talking about that before this meeting, within a couple of weeks, we should get the first draft of this MOU and start to elevate this for staff review. So that's actually news to both Larry and Jody, because I just found out about it literally a half an hour ago. So, and I haven't had a chance to bring it to their attention. So anyway, with all due respect to that, we're going to turn it over now to Executive Director Pace for our presentation.
Actually, we're going to start with Brandon.
Oh, okay. We'll turn it over to Brandon.
Okay, move this away. Good evening, councilors. My name is Brandon Schaefer, Special Advisor working for Passenger Rail and Transit here for the state of Colorado. I think it was about a year ago, around this time last year, that myself and my former colleague Diane Barrett had came to this council in a study session to present to you all the findings of the March 1st report, which was a legislative report mandated by Senate Bill 224-184, which really asked us to examine the revenue to support this project, look at the feasibility of it, of what we could start with, of 3 or 5 daily round trips to start. Since that report to this council, the good news is all of the boards who are part of this project, 6 public agencies spanning from the Colorado Department of Transportation, Front Range Passenger Rail District, the Regional Transportation District, and the Governor's Office, and then 2 enterprises housed within CDOT, entered into an IGA to form the negotiation team for the purposes of negotiating an access agreement with BNSF. That negotiation started in August. The IGA was voted on by the end of June of last year, and since then, we really went from a study phase of initial cost estimates, initial estimates of what the capital projects would be, to now actually having just a few weeks ago a signed term sheet with BNSF, really enumerating the cost of the project, the known capital projects as well, something that this region has never really had before. There's been really phenomenal planning and studies done by RTD, done by the state, done by Front Range Passenger Rail to really look at this corridor to bring passenger rail to it. But since the last presentation to you all, enormous progress has been made, and I know tonight GM Pace is going to talk to you all about a local return program through the Front Range Passenger Rail District to kind of start actually adding more meat to this project that you all have not heard about yet. So I'll turn it, with that update, turn it over to Sal. Thank you. Good evening. And first, let me acknowledge my boss, Sarah Normella, in the audience, also Mayor Pro Tem, or not in the audience at the table. And also joined today by staff from Front Range Passenger Rail District, James Flatham, and a couple consultants who have been helping us out. Grant Bennett with Proximity Green, assisting with station area planning, and Sean Walsh, who's been assisting with all the coordination and outreach with municipalities. So Colorado Connector is going to be connecting the communities along the Front Range from Fort Collins through Westminster to Denver and ultimately on to Pueblo. We had over 25,000 Colorado residents help vote on the name of the new service, the train service connecting Colorado's Front Range. That is not to be confused with our governing body, which is the Front Range Passenger Rail District, which is delivering the service, the Colorado Connector, or COCO. We have the statutory direction to plan, operate, and build Front Range Passenger Rail. As Brandon led into, we are doing a phased approach, starting with phase 1, which is being paid for with your payments into fast tracks. And in fact, the term sheet that was passed a couple weeks ago contemplates RTD putting about 75% of their fast track savings account, or $150 million, into phase 1 starter service.
Phase 2 gets delivered upon passing a future funding measure. Phase 1 is 3 round trips, Phase 2 is 10 round trips, and also additional funds for stations and station areas. Quick description: what is intercity passenger rail? We're traveling longer distances, faster speeds. If you can imagine trains with cafe cars and restrooms and reclining chairs and Wi-Fi versus commuter rail, which is intended for shorter service. That is the difference of Front Range or Colorado Connector versus traditional RTD service. Joint service at a glance. This is what Brendan outlined. 3 round trips per day, 7 days a week, 8 stations, 69 miles from Fort Collins to Denver, including the Johnson to Boulder, an hour and 40 minutes. Versus full service overview. And this is connecting from Pueblo up through Colorado Springs, Sterling Ranch, Littleton, Denver, and up to Westminster. And ultimately 10 round trips going through Westminster. That means 20 passenger trains a day going through Westminster. This is a really uniquely Colorado approach to delivery. We hear about California high-speed rail and how they had massive cost overruns. This is a different approach. So we are leasing the tracks from the private freight industry versus California or other approaches where they need to acquire new right-of-way, they need to lay new track, they need to do the service from scratch from the beginning. In this case, not only are we leasing from the freight railroads, but they're also our partners. The term sheet with BNSF is a unique approach that hasn't been done in other states. So under federal railroad law, the states can go and contract with Amtrak and use 209 powers under the Surface Transportation Act, and essentially it's considered a contentious approach to getting passenger access on freight tracks. In Colorado, we've done it differently. We went straight to the freight railroads. We skipped the 209 service and contracted directly with BNSF. This means that we're in partnership with the freight railroad. The term sheet that was signed proposes that they'll receive 50% greater pay for meeting on-time performance. They are a partner in this process as opposed to what you've seen in other states and what has failed in the past in Colorado. There's obviously an economic driver. That's why there's such a big push for the downtown location here in Westminster. We are working on special event stations and stops. We met today again with the Broncos, probably our 8th or 9th time. We will have a special event stop at the new stadium there, but also talking with Denver Summit and South Broadway and the ability to connect to special events there, as well as with potentially the Air Force Academy. A cool proposal, I think it's a cool proposal, but I'm promoting it, is what we're talking about for local return for station areas for local municipalities. And these will be funds that'll come directly from the taxes that the district is collecting back to municipalities with stations. And I really like the comparison of Union Station pre-development and post-development on the right-hand side to really demonstrate the type of activation that can happen with a station. I truly believe that the train service can be transformative, but that the anchors of the stations can be even more transformative for driving economic development, multimodal development, commercial activity, and infill. And that's why we support the concept of local return. It's been approved by our board, including proposing sending $80 million to Westminster over a 25-year period. We have a station area map that's been developed here to show the opportunities around the future Colorado Connector Station just south of downtown Westminster, and the opportunities for economic development around downtown, around the downtown station. We'll possibly return to that. Moving forward, we are undergoing stakeholder engagement. We thought it was pretty important to get in front of you before we potentially refer a ballot question. When we refer a ballot question, we will no longer be able to be doing external communications as a district. We are wrapping up a development plan, and we are looking at a 2026 ballot question. And wanted to make sure to get in front of you before then. One item with the station narrative is we'll be coming back, or there will be a station narrative coming back for a resolution that's been drafted jointly between our staff and your staff, describing the possibilities of a downtown station. And with the approval of that station narrative, we'll be adding 10% onto the local return funds. So instead of 80 million, it'll be 80 million, 75 million. Grant's glaring at me, I can feel it. 75 million, wrong community. It's based on population. It'll be 82.5. And really what we're trying to do is ensure that before the district is out there defining what any community wants in their station area, that the community itself has given the a thumbs up on for those narratives, so that there's no confusion, or we're in October and someone says, I had no idea what was happening in my community. So happy to pass any questions on to Brandon.
Do we have any questions? Councilor Barajas?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Sal and Brandon, for this. It's great. So I have two questions, maybe one for our transportation manager as well. But do we have an estimate for you all? Do we have an estimate on what ticket prices would be looking like once? Well, I guess two questions. So what would ticket prices be looking like? And would that shift, like kind of given initial service phase 1 versus phase 2 service? And I guess just to color that question a little bit, I think residents in downtown Westminster might be using this to go just one stop over to downtown Denver, and so paying like a full fare ticket would be probably not, that would not be ideal for our residents downtown if it's just one stop. Yeah.
The answer is for the RTD service area, it's going to be consistent with RTD service. For Front Range Passenger Rail, or for Colorado Connector for the full build out, we modeled 19 cents a mile. So 10 miles would be a couple bucks maybe. So it's supposed to be an affordable ticket.
Great, that's helpful. And then in terms of the local return for tax dollars to municipalities for those kinds of outline, would that just be like a transit restricted revenue stream for the city, or would it be grant kind of, how would that work?
So the way we're modeling it out in the financial modeling, the dollars would start flowing in 2028. And then they would flow for a 25-year period. We imagine spending a brunt of 2027, working with you to define what those dollars would be used for. Okay. There's sort of a broad list, a rubric of several different categories that would fit, such as first mile, last mile connectivity, TOD, walkability, et cetera. But we think it should really be defined by the city. We would formalize it in IGA between the district and the city at some point before 2028.
Great. And I don't want to speak for the mayor, but I know she often talks about multi-municipal relationships. I know that this is, we share a boundary with Arvada right here, and I wonder what kind of conversations you've had with them, what kind of conversations maybe we should be having with them as we kind of think through any important decisions. Obviously, this is well within Westminster's boundaries and mainly our budget, but also, I'm just kind of curious, and I don't know, it's just something I want to bring to the council as well. But.
Yeah, Counselor, that's a great question. One of the things that we started to do before this process actually began was talking with my peers in Arvada. How do we get their residents, those neighborhoods just south of 88th, over to this station location? The challenge is because we're Colorado, everything's flat. And so tunnels and bridges cost a lot of money. And when you're going under or over a railroad, you're talking 20 feet minimum that you would have to clear on either side, both of which are cost prohibitive to both of our respective governments. So we have not embraced, or we've not engaged with Arvada since we've begun this process. Instead, what we've said is the travel shed now opens out to unincorporated Adams County, Broomfield, kind of southeast Broomfield, Arvada, and us. So we haven't really gone to that next level of talking to Arvada about how we can get those in. You could talk about trail or path accessibility along 88th. You could also bring them up from the south, say up from 84th on Sheridan. We would have to talk about the bridge over the railroad right there. How do we deal with that on Sheridan? And that's now a CDOT discussion as well. So lots of moving parts to get that, but it's easily done. With the Adams County people, I think that would be a more easier conversation because we wouldn't have that many hurdles that we would have to overcome in order to access. I mean, Adams County literally is across the street from us right here. So there's not too much that we would need to worry about making that connectivity. I think it's important that the city does everything that it can. The map that shows you here, you can see the city hall in the upper right-hand corner. You can see the bikeway in the center top. Those are the things that we need to focus on as a staff, and then later with your support moving forward to ensure that we've got connectivity to all of that. Yep. We don't need 3-foot sidewalks, we need 12-foot sidewalks, et cetera.
Thanks. Yes, and thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. One thing that I'm going to start advocating for at NADA as well, and in this body is, as Uplands is kind of developed out, trying to figure out with RTD's help or some sort of first mile, last mile, like getting them at least to the pedestrian bridge right here, and then up and over. But just kind of to that point, I think really trying to figure out how to increase that connection to
absolutely.
The station. Yeah.
The council has brought to attention to staff before about first mile, last mile, micro-mobility, and other types of alternative transportation options. I can share with you that we did have a conversation with Adams County with a community development grant that came out of Dr. Cog about providing some type of flex ride service along the federal corridor north of 50th up to about 80th. So it didn't quite move this far north to where we could have this discussion. At that time, we were not prepared from a budget point of view to provide support to Adams County. They said, fine, we'll go to another project. Let's have this conversation next year. So we'll elevate that again, say at the first of the year, and see if there are opportunities for us to move forward in a partnership with the county. Of course, we'll circle you back in with a study session or other type of dialogue. But I think at the end of the day, that's where we're going to have to go, is going to have to kind of create our own transit. Okay. I mean, RTD is in a deficit situation now. They've not announced what they're going to do to solve that budget problem, but service cuts could be on the table, staff cuts could be on the table, so we just don't know those answers yet. But at the end of the day, I think any type of partnership would be better for the city because we would not carry the full burden of that cost.
Thanks, Chris. Really exciting. Thank you for the presentation.
Councilor Ireland?
I'm kind of being the devil's advocate because this is what I'm hearing from the citizens that talk to me. So we've been paying into fast track since 2005. And so so is Westminster expected to pay more into this since we've got nothing but buses the whole time? We didn't get fast track. So how much more do we have to pay to get this?
Councilor, really good question. One of the obstacles, I think, that was recognized years ago for Fort Wayne passenger rail success is actually solving the fast tracks problem for the Northwest communities and really acknowledging that we kind of need to get that out of the way to kind of pave the way for Fort Wayne passenger rail. So what is contemplated right now is all of the boards just a few weeks ago voted for that term sheet saying, yes, they adopt it, yes, they agree to the numbers. What they also authorized was around $10 million between BNSF and an architecture and engineering firm to really actually start the engineering, the preliminary engineering to get to 90% by the end of this year. That includes all of the capital projects for BNSF, so that's curb speed improvements and all of that. But in addition to that, it's also station development. And RTD authorized $5.58 million out of the Fast Tracks internal savings account, the very sales tax money that you're talking about right now, to actually study what would it be to put a station and what do we need to do to connect it to the train. That is part of the answer there for you. We would also be, once we get through 90% designs, that $333 million estimate that the project cost will fluctuate between now and the end of the year. And so we'll have to go back to the RTD board and others and walk them through, here's what may have shifted, here's the new cost, what we have today. But we have really strong confidence levels with the numbers since they're provided to us by BNSF, and we're looking at a really minimal viable product to really put a platform in. And what's currently assumed is that through a partnership with RTD and the state, we would leverage the fast track sales and use tax revenue and that savings account. And so we would be taking money that's been collected over a decade plus from that and really leveraging it to build a station, make sure that it connects to the train that comes through. So it's not that we're dismissing it or leaving it. It's also $156 million is assumed to be the capital investment for RTD. And so we are leveraging all of those dollars to build this out and really show those in Westminster, your money has not disappeared. It's actually being reinvested into a viable project that RTD can also partner with. When they studied peak service feasibility a couple years ago in 2024, it was going to take them anywhere between 2045 and 2050 if they went this alone. So we've already been waiting for 20 plus years to get this service, and we are saying now we think we have a viable project now that can get up and running by 2029, leveraging those dollars finally and kind of trying to move past this regional transportation hurdle.
Okay, great things. Also, people want to know if fast track ridership is down and bus ridership is down, how do we know that people will ride this?
I think we've seen when the state invests in bus service and transportation and transit, we look at Busting, for example, year over year, double-digit ridership.
I did see Busting's doing better, but we're still 25 million in funding gap from the federal and state.
Oh, yeah. We are solving for that administratively at CDOT to ensure that busting still continues. But I think in the housing space, and this is an analogy that I use internally with our teams and stakeholders, is when you look at housing, kind of ADUs and granny flats as being the, quote, missing middle in transit. I think passenger rail is the missing middle in our transportation network here in Colorado, where we don't have that service. There are some Coloradans who would rather probably take a passenger rail train like Amtrak, where they don't have to worry about an hour, 30-minute bus ride from Fort Collins or car ride down to Denver. They can actually sit on a train, get coffee, work, and have a leisurely way, less cortisol because you're not worried about who is not using their blinker on the freeway. So I think we can get around that. And I think once we start connecting major population centers and really connecting our major universities too, we're going to see ridership that's currently not maybe seen in ridership models. Some of my colleagues will refer to ridership models as like Ouija board math. You don't know what actually is going to pan out, and that's been the case for busting. We've actually seen huge ridership demand for it, but I think once we have something new and people actually for 20 years have been waiting to ride a train, I think everyone will start wanting to ride this to and from.
So the first 3 trips that go to Fort Collins, right, from Denver to Fort Collins, how long do people have to wait to go back on those 3 trips?
I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think
is it like school? Is it going around the college kids' schedule, or how's it going?
Just as a reminder, I sent out, I can't remember how long it's been, but essentially what it boils down to is there's going to be an AM trip, a midday trip, like a noon, 12:30, 1 o'clock trip. All these are going to be Westminster times, not north or south of here. And then one evening, somewhere around 6 to 7 o'clock. So approximately 3 trips would be spread out over the course of the day. So we could pick up all of that type of, I work early, I work late, I get off early, my class doesn't start until 2 o'clock, those type of trips. And I think as we expand to the 10, now, of course, that opens up a variety of different things. Do we go heavy in the morning and afternoon peak and leave the middle one trip, or do we spread it out over the course of the day? Obviously, that's something the state can work through. But for now, we'll start out with, again, I don't have the times in front of me, but it's like a 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, approximately 12:30, 12:45 in the afternoon, and approximately 6:45 to 7:15, 7:30 in the evening.
All right, great. Thank you.
Councilor Fadi?
Thank you. This is a great presentation, great summary, concise. It really does go through everything that we've been hearing about. I have a question. So we've talked a lot about user experience, really. I'd like to talk a little bit about marketing. So I'm a big believer. I've been accused of over-communicating. I like to over-communicate because I believe that communication is inefficient in the current kind of defragmented media ecosystem that we currently all live in. So therefore, you need to over-communicate in multiple different platforms for anyone to even hear, for one person to hear your message, right? So with the history of fast tracks and rail in Colorado and in Westminster, from speaking with a lot of people, so the first question is, what's your marketing budget? If you don't have that yet, do you perceive that to be significant? Because it's going to take really effective marketing. I actually believe the success of this will be directly correlated with how effective your marketing will be, right? Because you need to not only change hearts and minds of folks who have been here for a long time and have that history, that baggage, but then you also need to convince a new generation, young professionals, working professionals, et cetera. And doing that is a balancing act that would take very specific type of marketing. So what's your marketing plan? How are you looking to message this? Because this is going to be a messaging exercise.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I've been really focused with our marketing, our branding, our outreach, and what that looks like. As a rail district, 4 months ago, we had 6,000 contacts within our database. We now have 40,000. And we're undergoing a sort of branding and marketing exercise right now. I spent a lot of time on that today, actually, with a real excellent firm from this part of the state, actually. And it's an important focus. The newest intercity train service corridor in the country to come online was produced by the Southern Passenger Rail Commission, connecting the Gulf Coast, and they rebranded it, their service name, the Mardi Gras Express. And they're about a year into service now, but they exceeded their ridership projections within like 6 months. And they did really, really good work on their outreach and their branding and their marketing. We're putting a lot of effort into that, and plan on putting some dollars behind that as well.
Yeah, so my hope would be that you invest in not just door knocking, but focus groups, a diverse group of focus groups of individuals within these groups, because testing the messaging will be even more important, right, than launching it, right? So you don't want to launch millions of dollars on messaging that won't be effective. And this is such a sensitive issue, and it really is in Westminster. It's very sensitive, rail and the history of rail here. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to be focusing on it. So thank you for being here.
And I'd love to do some follow-up with you, just another time, to share ideas, yeah.
I'm good. You're good. I have one more question. So what is the ballot question going to say, do you know, for November?
We haven't decided on whether or not we're running a ballot question. If we do, in all likelihood, it would involve a sales tax. Right now, we're modeling out with Ernst & Young on various different scenarios. We're also trying to get the sales tax number as low as possible and deliver service to all the stations within 5.5 years. So we're really deep in financial modeling exercises right now. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we can have some service delivery plans, maybe not finalized plans for maybe a month or two, but some models that we can share publicly that we're looking at.
All right, thank you.
I'll go, but I definitely want to say that, yeah, Councilor Azadi would be a great resource. He is a guru at social media and connecting with people, and so, yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. Obviously, I know a lot of this material, but I did actually come up with a couple of questions. One was when we get this service going, I think we talked a little bit about this, but would there be a seamless payment option to go between, like if you're taking a bus from, because one of the great aspects about our station location is that there's the Sheridan Park and Ride, so people may be taking a bus to get to this station. So are we thinking about that possibility?
Well, Brandon might know this better than me, but I know that the CDOT is under Division of Transit and Rail is undergoing a study to look at how you can have seamless ticketing between the various transit agencies.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Great. And then the local share, which I think is an amazing concept for communities. So I know there are different zones in and around the station that can be invested in, and what the local share can be applied to. I was thinking it would be helpful to just talk about the different types of investments and ways that local share can be utilized for a community.
Yeah, it's supposed to be broad, and so in our local return policy that was approved by the board, it listed a number of opportunities. So obviously a station hall, and you think about Denver Union Station, there's a hall there, but also first mile, last mile connectivity as an opportunity, and to be imaginative about what that could look like. Bikeability, walkability, commercial activity, TOD. I think all of these fall within the vision of making a great station and a great station area.
If I could just add 2 cents to that. Mayor Pro Tem, I will tell you that staff has had some preliminary discussions already talking about the area of influence of what we can use these funds for. Essentially, the railroad crossing over to Eaton Street on 88th and then into up Harland a little bit, maybe a block or two up Harland and a block or two up Westminster Boulevard as well. The main concerns I think that we're looking at is what do we not have out there already? We already have bike lanes and a full sidewalk network on Harlan, great sidewalks and kind of bikeability on Westminster Parkway. It's not dedicated for bikes, but it's enough room. Eaton is the one that's got all the bike lanes. It's getting all that across 88th. So we've had chats about, well, can we repurpose 88th, lanes on 88th? That road was built for a mall. It's not built for the train station and a TOD. So is there opportunities there? But let me be very clear, this is a preliminary discussion that staff has had. We've engaged the city engineer and the public works departments and the community services departments are all talking right now about how we go to the next level. Hopefully we'll have some answers for you on that soon.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, without any more questions, I'll just, yes, go ahead.
I'm going to go back to your ticket question. I think shall all the boards at the end of this year actually approve the expenditures to go into capital construction next year? I think there would be much more serious conversations between RTD, an operator of this rail line, and CDOT to look at how to integrate tickets. So I just want to put that out there that there is a really big, while the term sheet was a monumental success of the project so far, there's another very big vote where the city of Westminster will need to let your RTD board directors know from your region that you want to see the project move forward later on, where we can actually go into the implementation phase beyond just design and preliminary engineering. And then to the question that the other counselor raised at the end of the table too, just around station zones, is what the project contemplates right now for investments beyond what Sal is doing, which zones 1, 2, and 3, I think really beyond the platform, is that we are leveraging, the project contemplates paying for all of the rail platform itself, the fencing, the rail infrastructure, everything within the right of way the project would pay for. And then as particular to the city of Westminster, what we are also contemplating is that, and this is dependent on each municipality along the alignment, if this makes sense or not, but we are also proposing support with property acquisition where necessary and appropriate, looking at parking, ADA access parking as well, and then also looking at road extensions and modification as well. And so the city of Westminster, we have a line item just for 72nd and 88th, but even there we have money dedicated. We added $2 million more for outside of the right-of-way improvements to really support connecting people to the parking as needed too. So I just want to add that in addition to the comment on the zones.
Very helpful. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, this concludes the public portion of the post-meeting study session. City Council will now enter into some executive sessions. So thank you for attending, everyone. And I think we probably need a 5-minute break to set up for the unmelt for the air conditioning.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. How should I do those?